Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome to episode 101 of the Optimistic Survival series. Today we are doing a comprehensive world tour. We are going through every episode that we have had so far in this season, this series, I guess, and we are just going to kind of run through it and play along as it happened. That way, in case you are just now beginning the series, you don't have to go back and watch all 100 episodes before this. You can just start right in here at episode 101 and know exactly what is going on. So we are here at spawn, the same look that we had when we first spawned in this world. Of course, that is all new. We will get to all of that over there, but we didn't have any armor. Of course, we didn't have any tools or weapons, but for the purposes of this video, we will go ahead and re-equip all of that. So episode 1, what did that look like? Well, again, this is our world spawn. This is where we began the series. We got some wood from here, and we started to travel in this direction. Now, we are not actually going to walk, we are going to fly to make it a little bit easier for us. But there's spawn. We traveled over in this direction through this birch forest, past the beach right here, through the plains, and what we saw fairly quickly at the top of this mountain right here was our local village, where we stopped and got some supplies before heading on into our valley. We will return to this village later on in this episode, but let's make our way over to our valley. Of course, all of this is new as well, and we will get to everything that you see here, but we are going chronologically. So right down here, down this hillside, and what we will see is our very first starter home that we built, our first building of this series. The combination of oak, birch, spruce, and did we use jungle anywhere? We didn't, but we did get jungle. Oh yes, we did, right here. I knew we had some of that fairly early on, and right up there as well. So in episode 1, we ventured across the valley. We discovered our starter home, which is now a cave entrance. More on that later on. But this is where we lived for about 25 episodes. We got settled in here. Of course, the valley looked very different than it does today. All we had was this dirt path right here. We had the small pond pretty early on, and this fence, which at the time overlooked the valley and had a great view. Of course, that has since gone away, but if we want that same great view, we can go up in the second floor of the storage building or step right over here, and we can look out into the valley. That was episode 1. In episode 2, we did some local exploring. We made our way over to the mountains right over here to get some more spruce wood, and through this little gap right here, this canyon, I guess, we have a jungle right down here. So we got some jungle wood as well, and we explored that whole area. Now, we did unfortunately have our first death of the series in episode 2, which was very early on. That would be the first of 5 that we have since had, but recently I think we have been pretty good about that. We did have one a few weeks ago, but again, we will get to that later on. In episode 3, we found diamonds. We made a staircase down to our mine, which has been reconfigured. That's why we have this flat tunnel right here, because originally the staircase entrance was outside of our starter home, and that takes us all the way down to our branch mine down at Bedrock. It also takes us down to the mine shaft, and that can be found right down here way underground. In fact, we still have some of our original workstations with some fuel still inside. It's been a while since we were down here, but this is where we found a lot of treasure, some diamonds, and other resources for us. This is also where we found not 1, but 2, actually 3 if you count the cave spider spawner, 3 different spawners. And if we follow this row of torches, that will take us over in that direction. And right through here, you will see a sort of hub that we have set up, again with a few more workstations and some lingering fuel, although that chest is empty. In episode 4, we did some exploring, but we also did some enchanting. At the end of episode 3, we made actually in episode 4, we made an enchantment table, which we will actually find our old setup right down here. We made an enchantment table, which we had here, and some books around. We even have an enchanted book right in here, and we also have a zombie XP farm right up through our kill mechanism right here. We have a zombie spawner. Again, that is one of 2, well, really 3, but we removed the cave spider spawner. That is one of 3. I guess we don't have a way out of here, do we? One of 3 spawners in this area, and we can make our way back up to the top right through here, where we have a ladder that takes us all the way back up to the valley. And that is why we have this granite pillar right here. That was our original marking so that we could find this hole in the ground, because at the time we really didn't have anything else around here. We didn't even have that path that extended out to here. This all happened in episode 4. We also explored the area around us, including some very impressive mountains over near the ocean. By episode 5, I was ready to do some building. We built what is now our town hall, what was at the time the storage building. We can even step right through here. Right now it currently houses all of our armor trim patterns, which will soon be relocated over to our museum, but for now they are hanging out right here. Otherwise, it is just an empty space, which we still haven't repurposed, but again, for right now, we are just calling it the Town Hall because it is adjacent to the town center, right over here, and it's got a very grand, symmetrical look to it. Again, that was our storage building for a while, and then we relocated to our new one later on. In tandem with episode 4, episode 6 was actually building out that first XP farm way down underground with the zombie farm. It was also when we built our first nether portal, which did not look anything like this. It was the standard 2x3 nether portal, but it was right here in this location. In episode 7, we stepped on through and went to the nether for the very first time, where we spawned in a very hostile environment, the Crimson Forest. Of course, our nether hub was not here, but the dangers of the Crimson Forest certainly were. We quickly got out of here and made our way over to the Warped Forest, which if we just elytra through here, we can start to see some of these blocks that the Endermen have carried over in this direction. So we found a warped forest right down here, which really opens up and has a really impressive look to it right down here. In episode 8, we made our way back to our local village across the canyon over there, and we brought back a villager who I don't think is living in here anymore. I think, yes, he has since been relocated to our villager breeder, but he was our local mending source for a while. We can see him right here, and he probably still does offer his mending trade right there for 38 emeralds. We have since gotten a much cheaper one, but we originally built this house for him with the iron door. He had a lectern in here and a bed, and it was fairly basic. This was also the first time that we used the new cherry wood, which had just come out in the 1.20 update. Of course, 1.20 also brought us archaeology, which we wasted no time on. We built a nether portal out here in the desert fairly far away, which happens to be right up next to a desert temple. So we brought our brush, we came to this desert temple, and we did our first archaeology unearthing. Right over here, we found a lot of suspicious sand. Right through here, lots of sandstone that we cleared away, and we uncovered a second room to this desert temple, which of course doesn't actually have a treasure room underneath, but that would have been very exciting if it did. Here in this desert temple, we also, of course, got some great loot from those chests way down there. We found a few desert wells as well, with some suspicious sand that, again, we got our hands on, brushed that away, and got some artifacts. And then it was back to the valley once again to do some more building. This time it was the barn for all of our animals. Of course, the Endermen have caused all kinds of issues for us, leaving their dirt blocks inside of the animal pen. So we have pigs in with the sheep. The cows are doing pretty well by themselves, same with the chickens. But these two over here seem to be mixing quite a bit. We built this farm in both episode 10, and we did the top part, the loft right up there, in episode 17, and we also did a very cozy interior for it. One of my favorite areas that I think is pretty underrated. Honestly, I think it turned out really nice for us. Definitely a great place to spend some time. In episode 11, we traveled back to the village once again on the Optimistic Namer, our new horse that we just recently acquired, and he is still hanging out with us. But in episode 11, we spent some time securing and protecting the village. We built this fence all the way around it. We placed torches all throughout the village, ensuring that no hostile mobs could spawn around here and attack our villagers, since they are kind of our source. We don't really have any other villages nearby. This is our go-to. In episode 12, we raided a nether fortress. We're not actually going to go there. I think we get the idea of how that looks, but we got ourselves some blaze powder, and we could then start brewing potions. Now, that was episode 15 that we started doing this. We have a couple others in between that. One of them was our first automatic sugarcane farm, which is no longer in existence. That has been relocated right down here. In a later episode is where we expanded it and made this large underground automatic sugarcane farm, which of course with the use of the crafter, it is full. With the crafter, we turn all of that into paper automatically. But that came a little bit later on. Our old sugarcane farm, again, no longer in production or existence. And in episode 14, we started working with bees, and that actually is still in existence, and I'm sure that chest is very full. In fact, we have some honeycomb spilling out from it. So why don't we go ahead and empty some of that out? We will probably turn that into blocks, but right here, just a very effective and efficient farm, and the shears still have a very long ways to go. But again, that brings us back to episode 15, where we started brewing potions. We built this little house for all of our potion supplies. We have some barrels right up here that house ingredients, and a chest for all of our finished potions. We have a few brewing stands. We can be nice and efficient in here. In episode 16, we were once again back in the Nether, doing a video on how to manage and escape a basalt delta when you spawn in one. We do have one fairly close to us. Luckily, we were fortunate enough to not spawn in one, but that was a pretty fun episode for sure. Again, episode 17, we just finished the barn over there, the loft, the interior. Episode 18, we started working a little bit more with trees and bees. That was the title of that episode. Our old tree farm was right over here behind the old storage building, now town hall. It was a large flat area where the town center is now, and we had all different types of trees. That was very reliable for us for quite a bit of time. I think in that same episode is when we actually built this automatic honey farm. The first time around, we were just finding bees to bring back. In episode 19, that was the genesis of our nether hub. This pattern that you see right here with the combination of crimson wood and deep slate bricks and polished deep slate. We have a few different branches right in here. This one takes us out to the desert and mesa. Right over here, that will take us to our swamp and stronghold. If we travel in that direction, we will head towards spawn. This is just a great way to protect us and get us to our nearby portals. Of course, we have our ice highway up on the roof, but right here, this is good for closer portals, and it is still a work in progress. It definitely takes a lot of time, but it really cuts down on mob spawns. These are lower half slabs. The only places where mobs can spawn are on these staircases right here, where we have full blocks, but even then we could go through with some string and completely mob proof that if we wanted to. So we were in the nether, we had lots of nether materials, but we didn't have any builds for them. That is where we created the boathouse. This was a combination of jungle wood, spruce wood, warped planks, and copper. And I'm still really happy with this build. It's still one of my favorites, and we still have some copper left that we put here to oxidize all of the way for the roof right up here. Why don't we go ahead and finish this off once and for all? So now this build, 100-ish episodes later, really closer to 80. This was episode 20. 80 episodes later, it is finally finished. At least the outside. We have a nice swing bench right over here. Of course, our dock. We have all of our different boats, including the bamboo raft right there. We do need to add a pale oak boat though, now that we have that. But this was our fishing hub. We did a lot of fishing on this dock right here, and we still have some of our treasure that we have found. I didn't know we had that many saddles out here. I think this boat is empty, that chest right there. We do have a bit of an interior, but it is not much. Right now, just a wall right up here with trapdoors and a couple of beds, but a nice balcony right out here and a unique color scheme, which I was pretty excited about using because warped wood doesn't get that much attention. There is a tutorial for this build on my channel if you want to go watch that as well. Of course, we did do a lot of nether exploration. Episode 21, we found a bastion and raided that a little bit. In episode 22, we did our first netherite upgrade to, I believe, our pickaxe, either the fortune or the silk. I would have to go back and watch that video just to be sure. But we did get our smithing template from the bastion. We had netherite, and we were able to do that. In episode 23, we climb up the hill right over here, and we say hello to our sniffer friends. We have 4 of them. We found some sniffer eggs in the ocean in some suspicious gravel at one of those drowned old cities. I forget exactly what they are called. I think maybe ocean ruins. We found a few sniffer eggs. We got those put onto the moss right there. And a few eggs later, we have 4 sniffers who collect plenty of torch flower and pitcher seeds for us. Episode 24, as you saw back at spawn, that was when we built our iron farm. That was and it still is, a very useful and productive farm for us, and it has been very helpful for the progression of this world. And episode 25, in my opinion, one of the most iconic episodes of the series so far. We said goodbye to our old starter home, and we graduated to our permanent home right here. Again, I do have a tutorial for this house as well. One of my all-time favorite builds, not just in this world, but that I have ever done. And it still doesn't have much of an interior, but it is a home nonetheless. We have our enchantment area right over here, and all kinds of great cozy nooks in this house, even areas that we still have yet to do anything with. We are going to be here in the next 5 or so episodes to actually finish off that interior. In episode 26, we looked for our stronghold. It took us over in that direction to the south, and we did find that stronghold. We got fully equipped in episode 27, making all of our that needs to be repaired. Actually, this should be as simple as just going in here and breaking a couple of these furnaces. And that should be good, we should only need 2 of them. So we found the stronghold to our south in episode 26, got fully equipped with netherite armor in episode 27. Episode 28, we took a break from all of that and decorated our kitchen and made our trophy case right over here, because in episode 29 we were heading to the end to get the dragon egg, aka defeat the Ender Dragon. We did that, we put our dragon egg right here in our trophy case. We have since donated it to the museum. I think it is a bit better for that to be on public display. And episode 30, we raided a massive end city, and that is where we got our elytra. That brought us back here to the valley in episode 31, where we made our super smelter. This building right here, which is not my favorite in the series. In fact, it is probably my least favorite. There was supposed to be more done to this that I never got around to doing, but instead of tearing it down, we are going to leave it up and repurpose it at some point. You can still see some of the lava reservoirs that were right up here with our cauldrons stepping up to the top when we transferred all of this lava to the new power plant. That was in episode 31. In episode 33, that is where we expanded our sugarcane farm, the underground sugarcane farm that we saw. But episode 32, we were back at spawn, which we go through our nether hub and right through our portal right here, which will take us to the world spawn. We're not going to the iron farm, instead we are going to the top of this scaffolding tower right up here, where we will see a conglomeration of netherrack. What this is our creeper farm. This was a design from Waddles that I conveniently stole from him, and this generates quite a bit of gunpowder when we just hang out here, let the creepers spawn and fall down, and then swipe them with our looting 3 sword. That fills up with gunpowder. And of course, we needed both the sugarcane farm and the gunpowder for our brand new elytra, so it all worked out very well. In episode 34, we did an ocean monument raid. We got some sponges, we killed all 3 of those elder guardians. That was not around here, that was actually to our south as well from the valley, where we found there are actually 3 ocean monuments in that area. In episode 35, we were back home in our valley, and we built some stables for all of our different horses because we had a lot at that point, and we named our horses as well. Right here, this is the optimistic namer who, again, because of an Enderman, has gotten out of place. That's our original horse, and then we have a few others in here: Midnight Rider, Patches, Diamond Dust, and a few others without names that we still need to name. We even have a donkey right over there on the other side. And at that same time, segueing into episode 36, 37, and 38, and of course perfect timing with the sun going down, it was Halloween, so we built a graveyard. This was an adventure for us because we needed a bunch of different materials. We needed to get a trident, a charged creeper, which meant waiting for a thunderstorm so that we could get some of these mob heads. We had to find a mushroom island to get mycelium. We had to find a swamp with a witch hut to get the black cat, and I think it turned out really, really nicely. It is very eerie, and it definitely says Halloween all over it. So again, that was a 3-part series that we did. This year's Halloween special was expanding it a little bit, adding a few pumpkins up here on the hillside, and this will continue to be an annual tradition next year. I think we will probably opt for a haunted house. We're going to run away from that skeleton, and we are going to run towards, actually, we are going to fly towards the pillager outpost, which is a few mountain peaks to our north. Up here on this stone mountain, we will see it come into view. We discovered this right over here. We came here for some ominous bottles. Actually, at that time, we came here for Bad Omen because we got that by killing the pillager captains. So we got some Bad Omen right here, and we started a pillager raid. Not at our village, but at a different village. Episode 40 will take us into the end, where when we turn around and walk down this staircase, not fly down it, we will see off in the distance our Enderman XP farm. A really unique design with a circular platform here at the top. We'll go ahead and pause that right there. We can already see some Endermen starting to spawn in. This is our new XP farm. The old zombie XP farm just wasn't good enough, so we set this one up instead, and it is really great. We can get, I think we can get close to 30 levels each minute. We just have an Endermite right up there, which the Endermen are after. Up at the top, I'm trying not to look at them, that's why we're kind of looping around. And of course, they are going to chase after that Endermite, fall to the bottom of the platform, and that is where we will meet them with our sword and get plenty of XP in a very short period of time. We have this Ender Pearl Ejector getting rid of all of those pearls. That way we don't have to fill up our inventory. We already have more than enough. We probably need to get a dedicated sword without looting on it for that task. Episode 41 brought us out here to our first archaeological dig site, where we unearthed this old ruined village. We found a lot of interesting artifacts in here, some sherds, music discs, and other relics and things like that. We set up a nether portal. We set up a beacon. I take that back. We did not have a beacon yet. We did all of this by hand without haste 2, but right down here we can step down or fly down and find all of the different buildings, the ruins, the structures, things like that. Definitely lots of interesting details in here. After the dig, we had some new armor trims, so we spent some time creating some trimmed armor. We also went out in search of axolotls. We found a few lush caves nearby and brought some back, and in episode 43, we built this right here. This is actually the entrance to our secret axolotl lush cave. If we throw any item onto there, the piston will briefly open up. We will fall down this giant hole onto a slime block, and right through here, we have our very own homemade axolotl enclosure. Now, usually they like to all hang out right in here for some reason. I have not figured out why yet, but we will be continuing to try for a blue axolotl throughout this series, and then sometimes they like to leave that area right here and swim around. They are just so much fun, and I'm glad we could create this natural environment for them. We don't have an exit yet. We only have an entrance. This is just a staircase that takes us back out to our main staircase to the branch mine. And it looks like we have paper spilling out of our crafter right over there. We will need to address that in a little bit. Episode 44 was our first wither battle. We did that all natural. We didn't do it under the portal home in the end, and that was quite the adventure. It ended up going way up in the sky. We had to bring it back down, trap it in a cave. We almost died a couple times. That was definitely an adventure for sure, but we got a beacon out of it, a nether star, and we have since fought a few more in the end underneath that portal. Then we came back. We had a Thanksgiving feast about 1 year ago around this time, where we completed the advancement of eating every single food in the game, even if it is not good for us. We ate all 40 items in the game, including an enchanted golden apple. And then we had a short or fairly long break, actually, about 1 month, before we came back and built a wool farm right here. And this thing has been extremely productive for us. We have more wool than I know what to do with. Chests full of wool, shulker boxes filled with wool. Again, I have no idea what to do with all of it. It is more than we could ever possibly use, but it looks really nice here on the mountainside. It blends well with the barn and is a nice use of space. In episode 47, we built a windmill on a hill that is right over here. We just recently did the interior for it in a live stream, but this windmill itself has been here for a while. Of course, this is the backside of it, the entrance. Right here we have a chimney and some wood storage, and here is the windmill itself. We can fly away from this and get a bit of a better view of it. Let me fly down a little bit here. There we go. A nice windmill up here overlooking the rest of the valley. And then in episode 48, we built this behemoth, the cherry storage house with the mixture of mangrove and deep slate. This was quite the build. It took a very long time because of the amount of mangrove that it required, and that wood takes a very long time to get. But it has become one of the most useful buildings in our world. Of course, it has plenty of space for all of our storage, plenty of upstairs space for bulk storage, and I think it fits in so nicely with the rest of the valley. If we fly way up here, it is definitely one of the highlights of the valley. It stands out and has a very strong, dominant appearance to it. Again, one of my favorite buildings so far. And then episode 49, we went out and got some frogs. We got all 3 frog variants. Some of them are right up here in this enclosure. We have our green frogs up there. Over in the jungle, where we have our warm environment frogs, if I'm not mistaken, we should have some right down here. We have a couple in there. And then back at home, somewhere wandering around, we have our mild climate frogs, the orange ones. We set up a frog light farm in the nether, and that has been pretty good for us. We haven't used frog lights all that much, but when we need them, we can go over there and get a lot very quickly. Episode 50 and 51 took us down inside of this mountain. I think right over here is where we can jump all the way down this hole, pretty much all the way to bedrock. We have some water at the bottom, and right in here we have an ancient city. Now, we've done a really good job of removing most of the shriekers, so we should be able to just run around and not have to worry about that. But we spent some time down here in episode 50 and 51 raiding this city and getting all of these chests. Unfortunately, at the time, we did not find the silence armor trim, which we have on right now. Actually, I take that back. That is just the snout armor trim. We have the silence on our chest plate. We didn't find that in this one. We found it in a different one though, but we did find the ward armor trim, or the warden armor trim. I forget what it is. It was quite the adventure for us, but after that, things felt pretty complete. We had defeated the Wither, the Ender Dragon, raided an ancient city, defeated a pillager raid, done our ocean monument raid. We had done most of the challenges that there were to do. So it was time to make the valley our home. We built this giant artificial lake, that way we could have a nice body of water. Around that same time, we built a giant wheat field right over here, and we were really starting to fill in the valley and again make it a home. So we built this artificial lake. We spent some time in episode 53 talking about what the future would hold for this series. That is when we laid out all of these wool markings and kind of zoned our entire world, our valley right here. And then in episode 54, I remembered that there was still one thing that we hadn't yet done. That was raid a woodland mansion. Now I would fly over there, but it has burned to the ground. As we were raiding it, it was near a lava pool and the whole thing caught on fire. It burned to the ground. We were able to get out, but we did find some allays while we were there. That was in episode 54. We brought them back in episode 67, but they just hang out right in here with some amethyst and some blue to match with them. That way they can feel like they are blending in and nice and camouflaged and protected. But we had just done all of our new zoning, so it was time to begin filling all of that stuff in. We started right over here with our lumberyard. This doesn't really have any useful purpose, I guess. It's primarily aesthetic, although if we wanted to store wood in here, we could. It does have some stone cutters and things like that, which of course don't work for wood, but some crafting tables as well. And we even have a small tower crane to move the logs across the lumber yard. At that same time, we built our concrete factory right across the road here. This is fairly simple. We just press the button. Of course, our concrete powder would be placed down in here. That water would convert all of it to solid concrete. And then we turn off the water, we go in, we mine up all of our concrete. It does have an upstairs as well for some additional storage. But it was time to get some life into the village, and a lot of life we have. We built a villager breeder right here on the hill, and this was pretty much the extent of what we had in this direction. This was very far from the rest of the village. We didn't have our pumpkin melon farm. We definitely didn't have that house up there. The bridge we had, but nothing else in this direction. This was the farthest away we had gone in this direction, so it was a ways out of the way, but it was a great way to start expanding up on this hillside. That was in episode 56, of course. 57 was that concrete factory. And then episode 58, we continued expanding up in this direction, building a food farm, a couple food farms actually. The first was an automatic crop farm, which we primarily use for potatoes since we can do baked potatoes, but this also works for beetroots, wheat, and carrots as well if we want to plant those here. In fact, the potatoes are ready. Of course, I don't want to harvest them. That happened a couple episodes ago as well, or maybe in a live stream, or replant them, not harvest them. But the potatoes get harvested, they flow down here to the end, go into these hoppers. Some of them take them over here to be replanted. The rest of them go into this furnace, this smoker right here, where they get cooked into baked potatoes. So again, filling up in this area, matching the same scheme as our villager breeder. In episode 59, I wanted to start working towards the village, and to do so, we needed to bridge the gap. So we built a giant suspension bridge, another one of my favorites so far from the series. I wish it was day, we'd be able to see it a little bit better, but I just think it turned out so nice. It matches with our theme of the valley, and it is nice and wide. We can easily get across, and again, that takes us over in the direction of our village. In episode 60, we crossed off a few advancements that we had yet to complete. Nothing too major, but we can go into our advancements tab here and see all of the ones that we have completed. Of course, a lot of these husbandry advancements just come naturally, but right over here, or in the adventure tab, some of these we hadn't yet done. Is it a balloon? Look at a ghast through a spyglass. Hit a bullseye of a target from 30 blocks away. Just a bunch of different advancements we had yet to complete. The adventuring time one, that one had not yet been done in that episode. I think that took us a little bit longer, but there were just a few different advancements that we completed in here, and it's probably almost time to do another one of those. And we still haven't respawned the Ender Dragon, if you can believe it. In episode 61, we got the 1.20.5 update, which added both new wolf variants and armadillos, and these guys are just hanging out in this small savanna that we built for them, and we have tons of armadillo scute right in that barrel. And then over here in our wolf house, we are slowly collecting all of our different wolf variants. We have our rusty wolves right here, our pale wolves, and our woods wolves. Those are the 3 that we have so far. We built this wolf house in episode 64. In episode 62, we built this town center because we were expanding over in this direction. We had just defeated a few more withers right over here, so we had a mega beacon down there. It was time to remove that old temporary tree farm that was behind here and replace it with something a bit more permanent. We even have a spot where we can sit down right over here on the park bench and just hang out in the town center next to the fountain. So we connected the wolf house, the beacons, and these 2 buildings would come later on. It was around that time that we started working on a wither rose farm as well. For that, we went into the end and we set up a farm, which I found somewhere online, a tutorial for it, and we set that up here in the end. Now, of course, every time a wither kills a mob, it drops a wither rose. We would spawn our wither right down here. This is where we go if we need to, well, A, spawn it, and B, kill it. And then we would stand right up here and just spawn in snow golems, which they would then get killed by the wither and drop wither roses. We still have, actually, we have a wither skeleton skull in here, but we also have all of our snow from that as well. Now, why did we need the wither rose farm? Well, we were taking these into the nether to start work on a wither skeleton farm, which has made 0 progress since, and that was all in episode 66. Nothing has been done on that. I still need to mob proof the entire area, or spawn proof the entire area around that farm, around the fortress. Again, episode 67 was working with our co-pilot friends right down inside of our Allay house. And then episode 68 and 69 were the 2 right before the 1.21 update came out. So in order to get ready for that, we set out to find all armor trims and all sherds, since the update added 2 new armor trims and 4 new sherds. I wanted to be ready for that, so we made sure that we had all of the old sherds and armor trims. It took us a while, but we did eventually find all of them, and as you saw earlier in the episode, we have all of those on display right in our old storage house in here. I don't think we have the 2 new ones yet. We do have those trims, but I don't think we have made them into anything quite yet. But then 1.21 finally came out in episode 70, so we went to a trial chamber to do a raid. We then came back and built a 1.21 house. We'll fly up on this tree if I can land on it, and this will give us a great vantage point of that house. It doesn't have an interior, but it does have 5 floors inside of it that we could go in and decorate with something. I haven't really given it much thought though, but I would like to do that eventually. So the combination of the new copper blocks, some tuff, and some black terracotta in there as well, just for a little bit of contrast. There is a tutorial for this on my channel as well, if you would like to build it. We were sticking with the whole 1.21 update for a while. We made some crafters and we automated a few different farms, starting with the paper farm. Actually, I think that came at the end, or maybe it was towards the beginning, but we set that up. We set up a melon and pumpkin farm right over here. Of course, the pumpkins are natural as they drop. But right here, the melons drop as melon slices. We set up a crafter to craft those back into standard melons. It takes up less space in the chest. And we set up a crafter at spawn at our iron farm, which not only turns the ingots into blocks, but it also turns the poppies that the iron golems drop into bone blocks. Those go through a composter, and the bone meal goes into a crafter to get turned into a bone block. Then finally wrapping up our 1.21 adventures for the time being, we did an ominous trial and got a few different great items, including a wind charge book. In episode 74, I decided it was time for a new smelting facility because the old one I just wasn't a fan of, so we built this one, a very unique look to it, but one that I kind of like for the smelting facility, sort of a red, ominous look, but it works pretty well for us. We have two different sides depending on what we need to smelt. We have a track for lava, which is connected next door to our lava power plant. We load our items into here. It delivers them to all of these different furnaces, and we can get our items out from there. In episode 75, we went to the roof of the Nether for the very first time, broke through bedrock, and we will get to the ice highway in just a minute, but we made this right up here, a gold farm, which does have a little bit of kinks that I still need to iron out. But this will make, via these crafters, gold blocks right in here, and it will fill up these chests with rotten flesh, which we can then trade with the cleric. There we go, we have some gold ingots right in there. We can then trade that with the cleric and get some emeralds for that. We have an AFK platform way up here at the top, and all of our magma block platforms all the way down there. They chase after those turtle eggs. They fall down onto this platform down here with hoppers underneath it. It delivers those items into the crafter, and it is filling up with those gold nuggets. It just crafted an ingot, and we might as well wait for one more gold block that we can take home with us. We just need a couple more piglins to spawn in first. And now they will all fall down here. That will craft a ingot as soon as they all die. That will go into there. And we are left with a gold block. Of course, we have a full inventory right now, so we will leave that in there. And again, plenty of rotten flesh. The ice highway that you see up here, so that was episode 75. The ice highway came in episode 83. This was simply just expanding ice in all four directions out for 1,000 blocks in each direction, which takes us 8,000 blocks in each direction. In the overworld, we have redstone dust to prevent mob spawning, and it is just a convenient way of traveling a long distance. After building the gold farm, we came back home only to leave again in search of some friendly faces. We found some pandas, some camels, some turtles, and a few other mobs that I would eventually like to house in a zoo. That's something that I've talked about for a while. It hasn't really moved anywhere at all, but I think a zoo would be very fun with all of the different mobs that we have in the game now. In episode 77, we did something that we hadn't yet done in the series before. With the new ominous bottles that were added in 1.21, we were able to easily get Bad Omen 5, so we drank one of those and did a level 5 pillager raid. In doing so, we got a lot of totems of undying that we have in here, and that is just in our emergency health chest that we keep in there. After the raid, I decided it was time to build another farm, and this is one that we hadn't done yet and one that we kind of needed. We're just making sure we don't have a thunderstorm for reasons I will explain in a moment. But we built this cactus farm right over here near our town center, and we have lots of cacti rolling in for us. I figured it fit well next to the savanna that the armadillos live in. Then in episode 79, the series took a bit of a turn. I wanted to give it a little bit more lore and a little bit more of a story. Of course, in all directions we are surrounded by mountains and canyons and oceans, except to the north right here, where it is just a wide open valley, and if you recall from earlier, we have a pillager outpost over in that direction. So I decided that we needed a wall to protect us. So this is obviously a work in progress, but this wall stretches from that mountain, turns over here, and runs all the way to the bridge right there to protect the rest of the valley and all of the inhabitants. With the valley secure, we could start working with our villagers a little bit more. We built them a trading hall right over here where we could bring them. That's why we have this track right here. We could bring them over, set them up inside of the trading hall nice and dry for them, and we have a bunch of different villagers that we can trade with at our convenience. We still need to get a few more upstairs where we will have our librarian villagers and I guess an enderman hanging out up here as well. It looks like a couple in the past. But right up here, this is what I was talking about. We had a fire breakout, a lightning strike hit the trading hall and a fire did break out. Luckily it did not spread. The walls here are made of brown mushrooms. Those would not have burned, but everywhere else where you see wood, it would have burned, including the oak floor. That would have been a disaster for us. Narrowly avoided, but that is why I'm so cautious about thunderstorms whenever we have one roll through. But in episode 80 and 81, we spent time building this and bringing some villagers over to house them. After that project though, I decided we needed a tree farm because I was tired of stopping halfway each time to go get some new wood every time. So we built a permanent tree farm right over here, including a beacon so that we can get haste too. We have 12 plots for all 12 of the wood types, including the brand new pale oak, which is down close to the corner right there. At the same time, we built this automatic sorter for all of our wood, where we have these canals that will deliver all of our wood into this building and automatically sort it based on our needs. We still need to add in the pale oak, but everything else is in here. In episode 85, we just spent all that time trading with our villagers, getting all kinds of new resources and locking in those villager trades. In episode 86, that is when it was time to start building the museum, which would of course open in episode 100. Now we started with the tough outline for it because we had plenty of tough, but we didn't have any mud. So in episode 87, we flew over towards the concrete factory right over here and built ourselves a mud machine, which works decently well as long as we use an iron shovel, and we can get a lot of mud pretty quickly. The reason we have to use the iron shovel is otherwise it mines it or digs it too fast, and then we end up with a bunch of dirt and the bottles go everywhere, but it works pretty well for us. So by episode 88, we had all of the mud that we needed to then finish the museum, and at that point I would close it off to the public. It would remain a secret until the big reveal in episode 100. In the meantime, we did a bunch of other stuff. We built a hostile mob farm over near spawn where our creeper farm is, over that ocean as well, far enough away from the creeper farm, but we have that going for us. It is an AFK farm. In episode 90, the 1.20, I think it was 1.21.3 came out, and that introduced bundles. Now, I was originally under the impression that bundles could only be made with rabbit hide, as that was the original recipe. So in that same episode, we built a rabbit enclosure right over by our potato farm. Well, come to find out, they completely removed that recipe as a whole, Rabbit hide has nothing to do with bundles, it is only leather, but we do have some rabbits right down here, and we experimented with bundles as well. Of course, they aren't all that useful late in the game, but it is still great that we finally have them nonetheless. In episode 91, we did a bit of landscaping. With the museum opening pretty soon, I wanted the area to look really nice. So we built a couple of custom trees, one of them kind of separating our house right over here from the trading hall with a giant pine tree. And then over here in front of the museum, a large oak tree. There's still more landscaping I want to do, but because of the scale of a lot of our buildings here in the valley, I want some bigger trees, that way we can match all of that and even start to cover up some of those buildings. Of course, episode 92, that was our Halloween special in which we built that giant pumpkin right there and some other smaller ones in the area. In episode 93, this one will actually take us inside of our museum, and it will take us inside of our trophy room, because in episode 93, we found not just one, but two heavy cores. One of them has since become our mace, which has wind charge on it. The other one is on display here in the museum. That was a very fun find for us. And at that same time, I decided it was time to start working with some of the wind charge effects that we had available to us in that update. So we started work on our North Pole. Of course, this is an active work in progress, being that it is the holiday season, and we made a bunch of different methods for getting up this mountain. One of them is right through here. Through that festive tunnel, we have a bubble elevator. Another one is this path with all of these switchbacks that you can see, which will take us to where the snow starts. One of them is a nether portal. You can see that up at the top. We linked that. It is just through our main portal up to the roof to get up to the top of the mountain. But our last method, and my favorite method, is this wind charge booster, which launches up way above the clouds, and we can, as I always say, gracefully glide down and land right here close to the summit. That was in episode 95. Episode 96, we spent time redesigning the portal, making it look very grand. In episode 94, backtracking a little bit, we built a lava power plant. We removed the lava from the old smelting factory, and we built a new plant right next door to our smelting factory with a giant smokestack in it and dozens of cauldrons with lava dripping into them. As you can see, they are all full, ready to be emptied. We put those buckets into the minecart right here, and it will take it over to the smelting factory. It is a very convenient system that we have for that. And we are down to the final 3 episodes left. In episode 97, we built the North Pole entrance that you see right here. I still think it turned out way too large, but we are just going to stick with it anyway. A lot of these buildings are large as well, so I think eventually it will look just fine. In episode 98, we built a spider farm using a spawner that we've had under our base that I haven't done anything with before just recently. But right down here, we can actually see it through the tinted glass. We have a spider spawner in there, and the spiders get pushed down right here, and they will spawn in. We can get our string and spider eyes. Of course, that brings us to episode 99, the last episode before the museum reveal. The Pale Garden, which we are not actually traveling to because it is a ways away. But we got the new resin bricks, the pale oak wood, the creaking, and all of those new additions from the 1.21.4 update. And of course, episode 100 leaves us at the museum. I do highly recommend going back and watching that episode now that you have seen the entire recap of the series, and this is where we are starting our full netherite beacon, again as a commitment to the series and the time, the duration that I want this to go on for. But that is the end of our survival series summary. There will be plenty more episodes to come, but I hope this made it a little bit easier to jump in here at episode 101 and follow along as if you have been watching the entire time. Of course, you can always go back and watch all of the episodes, or if there's one that stuck out to you during this video, you can go find that on the playlist as well if you just want to watch them individually. But again, that is where we are ending it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the summary, and again, I hope it was helpful. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on daily content as soon as I publish it. Check the description for some more important information, links, how to contact me, all of that good stuff. And with all of that being said, comment, like, subscribe, remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye!